Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome once again to our live online session on Fiqh, Islamic rituals. Today we will be studying tayammum, which is dry substitute ablution. It is not wudu in the sense that we normally perform wudu or ablution. It is not ghusl as we perform ghusl. In fact, in the absence of certain um, requirements, when we are unable to perform ghusl or unable to perform wudu, and the legal reasons are there that apply, then in that case we may go towards this substitute, which is tayammum. Remember, tayammum is not an alternative to wudu, it is not an alternative to ghusl, it is a substitute. In other words, we can only perform tayammum when we are unable to perform ghusl or unable to perform wudu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, verse number 43, وَإِن كُنتُم مَرْضَىٰ أَوْ عَلَىٰ سَفَرٍ أَوْ جَاءَ أَحَدٌ مِّنكُم مِّنَ الْغَائِطِ أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَلَمْ تَجِدُوا مَاءً فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا صدق الله العظيم. He says, and I translate, and if you are ill or on a journey, or any of you has come from relieving himself, or you have been in sexual contact with women and you do not find water, you should then perform dry substitute ablution, tayammum, with pure earth. Wipe your faces and your hands. Verily, Allah is ever pardoning, ever forgiving. Now, the word tayammum has been used in this particular ayah of the Noble Quran. Tayammum literally means to make an intention, because tayammum is actually something that we do away from the norm. The norm is performing wudu, doing ablution with water. That is normal. That is what we would normally do. But to move away from that, we are doing something different. And for that, in that case, we need a special intention, which is why tayammum is called tayammum. And tayammum, the literal meaning, like I mentioned, it means to make an intention. In the Sharia, practically speaking, it refers to the aim of using pure earth for wiping the face and the hands with the intention of making permissible the performance of prayer, or touching the Quran, or circumambulating the Kaaba. So the performance of tayammum, it is permissible with everything that is pure and it comes from the genus of the earth. And this includes stones, dust, sand, plaster, or anything else that comes from the genus of the earth, limestone as well. So tayammum is permissible with all of them. I will show you the performance later, inshallah. First, let us go through these essential aspects of tayammum. Just like in wudu, there are aspects which are fard. What are the fard aspects of wudu? As for example, it is washing the face from the top of the forehead to the bottom of the chin, from one earlobe to the other, washing both hands up to and including the elbows, washing the feet up to and including the ankles, and wiping the head. Not as in that order, of course, but these are the fard aspects of wudu. So what are the fard aspects of tayammum? Fard aspects of tayammum, we should come to that, inshallah. But first of all, I'd like to mention, when is it obligatory to perform tayammum? Same way, when it is obligatory to perform wudu. It is obligatory to be in a state of wudu when we want to pray, ritual prayer. When we want to touch the Quran, it is wajib to be in wudu when we want to do tawaf, circumambulation of the Kaaba. So in the same sense, tayammum is fard when we need to pray, ritual prayer. For example, for whatever reason we cannot perform wudu, we cannot perform ablution, so what do? We perform tayammum. And when we perform tayammum, we can perform ritual prayer. With that, we can touch the Quran now. We can also do tawaf of the Kaaba. So it is wajib in that sense, and also it is mustahab for the same reason that wudu is a mustahab. For example, you want to do an act that is mustahab and you cannot perform wudu because you do not have water, then in that case, to perform that mustahab act, it would be though fard to do wudu for that act. But if the act itself is separate and is mustahab and it is not praying, then it is mustahab to perform wudu, tayammum, sorry, because it is a replacement for wudu and we cannot perform wudu. So in that case, we want to do that noble act, so we perform tayammum instead. When are we allowed to do tayammum? Right, okay, these are the reasons. The first and foremost is that when we cannot find water, if water is not available. First of all, we need to look for the water. We need to go walk around as much as we possibly can to find water. If later on we are certain that I've looked for the water as much as I possibly can, and I am certain and sure 100% that within a 1 mile around me in all directions there is no water, so in that case now he can perform tayammum. It's always best to delay the prayer to the last time, near the, like for example, Zuhr prayer. Take it as close to Asr beginning time as possible, and try and look for water for as long as you possibly can. So then, when you are certain there's no water, then you perform tayammum and you pray your Zuhr prayer. Likewise with all other prayers as well. But if you want to touch the Quran, you can do that at any time, as long as you are certain there is no water within 1 mile from where I am standing right now. 1 mile in any direction, I cannot find water. So in that case, I can perform tayammum now. That is the first reason. The second reason is when someone suffers from an illness, that water is going to be harmful for that person. Now, this can be understood from two different ways. Number one is from personal experience, because experience of other people might not be the same as your experience. For example, you might be suffering from a severe form of eczema, and so will the next person. However, his experience with water might not be the same as yours. So in other words, he might be performing wudu, it might not affect him, but it will affect you. But generally speaking, eczema sufferers, they do find it difficult to use water. It does cause an aggravation of their condition. So somebody does have water, but they cannot use it because of a certain illness. And the second way of finding that out is getting the expert opinion of a skilled practitioner or a GP, a doctor, or someone who knows their medicinal field well. And it would help even more if that person was Muslim, because they will know the situation you are in, that you need to perform wudu, but you cannot perform wudu because of your condition. So they will be able to advise you better. However, anybody who knows of this particular condition, or whatever the condition you might be suffering, doesn't have to be eczema, could be anything where water could be harmful for you. And thirdly, when water is so cold and there is no way of warming it up, and if you use that cold water, it is going to make you ill, or it is going to aggravate your illness, then in that case, do not use that water. Do not perform wudu. Instead, perform tayammum. Or if water is frozen, for example, and it is impossible for you to melt it down, and it's become ice or snow and it does not melt down because you do not have any means of melting it, so in that case, what do? We perform tayammum. Also, if someone does find water and he can use water, except that getting to that water is dangerous, so you might be risking your life, or you might be risking your belongings if you have any. Like for example, somebody is traveling, and if he leaves his luggage behind to go and perform wudu, when he comes back, his luggage might go missing. He feels that my luggage might go missing. So in that case, what does he do? He does not perform wudu. He performs the tayammum instead, and he will perform wudu whenever he possibly can without risking anything. And likewise, like I mentioned, if he risks it, if his life is at risk, if he goes to perform wudu as well. So when someone also has water, but they need that water immediately for consumption purposes, for example, for cooking or for drinking, and if they perform wudu with it, then that wudu water is not going to be, well, that water is not going to be enough for wudu. So in other words, if they perform wudu with that water, it's not going to be enough for drinking, and it is not going to be enough for cooking or for other consumption purposes. So we have to prioritize that. So if the priority goes towards consumption of that water, that do not perform wudu with it, in fact perform tayammum. Or if somebody else needs to drink it as well. Also, if someone fears that they will miss their janaza prayer or Eid prayer. So Salatul Janaza, if they think that I'm going to miss that if I do wudu, or I will miss my Salatul Eid if I do wudu because I am late for both, then in that case, they do not perform wudu, they can perform tayammum. For all other prayers, they perform wudu, even if they are going to be late, and even if they know, if they are sure that they are going to miss out totally. Why? Because there are alternatives to that. For example, if someone misses out for Jummah prayer, they can pray Zuhr. If someone misses any other prayer, they can pray on their own. If they miss Janazah prayer, there's no alternative to that. If they miss Eid prayer, there's no alternative to that. So in that case, they can perform tayammum if they think that if by performing wudu they are going to miss out on Salatul Janazah or Salatul Eid. So these are the reasons and the obligations that we mentioned. Remember, for wudu, the 4 obligations. In tayammum there are 3. The first obligation is intention. Like I mentioned, the word tayammum itself means intention, to intend to do something. So the word tayammum itself means intention. And because we are moving away from the norm, which is wudu, remember, in wudu it is a sunnah to make the intention. It's sunnah, not fard, not wajib. It is sunnah. According to Hanafi fiqh, it is sunnah to make intention when performing wudu. But when it comes to tayammum, it is fard to make intention. Because we are moving away from what is the norm, and the norm is what? To perform ablution, wudu. So in this case, we are going to have to make intention. The intention can be anything like I'm performing tayammum in order to remove myself from the impurity to become pure, so that I can do all the things that someone in wudu can do. The second fard aspect of wudu, of tayammum, is to wipe the face, and the third fard aspect of tayammum is to wipe the hands and arms up to and including the elbows, and I will show you how to do that in a short while. So there are 3 fard aspects in tayammum. The first fard aspect is intention, the second fard aspect is wiping the face, and the third fard aspect is wiping the arms up to and including the elbows. What are the sunnah aspects of tayammum? Well, here they are. The first sunnah aspect of tayammum is saying the basmala, saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim at the beginning, and that is sunnah muakkada. And following the sequence in the Quran, and the sequence that is in the Quran is mentioned like tayammum, fatayammamu sa'idan tayyib. Tayammum, the word tayammum actually means intention. So making the intention comes first, then wiping the face, and then wiping the arms up to and including the elbows. So maintaining the sequence, that is sunnah as well. Also continuity, to do everything all in one go. In other words, you do not wipe your face once and then walk around, come back and then do your arms. No, we do it all in one go. It just makes sense as well, and it's really quick. And that is sunnah ghair muakkada, but we do it continuously, just like we do wudu in continuity, just like we perform ghusl in continuity. So it just makes sense to perform tayammum in continuity as well. The fourth sunnah is to strike both the hands, the palms of both hands in the ground, okay, onto earth, onto dust, onto gravel, onto stones, onto gypsum, onto plaster, anything which is from the genus of the earth with which it is permissible to perform tayammum. Also to spread the fingers out. So when we do that, we spread the fingers out so the dirt can get in between the fingers when we move them about. That is sunnah as well in tayammum. Also moving the hands forwards and moving them backwards to ensure that the whole palm has become touched by that dust or sand. And then also shaking the hands so that excessive dust comes off, and that is also sunnah of tayammum as well. So then we move on to the next part, which is that which is permissible with tayammum. So when we are in a status of impurity, minor ritual impurity, for example, and we need to perform tayammum, what can we do with that tayammum? Well, in a state of tayammum, you can perform anything and everything with it that you can perform with wudu. For example, you can perform your salah. For example, it is zuhr time, you cannot find water, and all the reasons or any of the reasons that we mentioned apply to you, that you can now perform tayammum. You perform tayammum and you can pray your zuhr prayer, you can pray asr prayer, you can touch the Quran with it, and you can do tawaf of the Kaaba with it as well, until your tayammum becomes invalid, until your tayammum is broken. Now your tayammum is broken by all the reasons and all the causes that invalidate wudu as well, and ghusl as well. So by breaking wind, your tayammum becomes invalid. By visiting the toilet, your tayammum becomes invalid. So you need to do tayammum again. So the performance of tayammum, let me quickly just show you. First and foremost, we face the qibla, facing the qibla, and the dust or sand is in front of us. And just imagine yourself in a sand pit, where kids play with sand or anything like that. So you got sand there in front of you, or on a beach, and you got sand in front of you, and you are facing the qibla. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You make the intention, you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You place both hands in the sand, move them forward once, move them back once, lift them up and shake them. Not like this, but like this. You shake them. Once you've shaken them, then you go to the top of your head with your hands and you wipe downwards. Okay, so you're wiping your entire face once. Okay, so I'll show you that again. Facing the qibla, making the intention, saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, placing both hands in the sand, moving them forward once, moving them back once, lifting them up, shaking them against each other, taking them to the top of the face and wiping them down once. That's the face done. Now the arms, again, you place your hands into the sand, move them forward once, move them backward once, lift them up, shake them against each other. You start with the right arm first and then your left arm. So the right arm, all you can do is just wipe like that, and then the left one like that. But it is better to do it the way I am about to show you. You place your hands in the sand, move them forwards once, back towards once, shake them against each other. Use the 3 end fingers of your left hand behind the 3 end fingers of your right hand at the back and start wiping downwards. One go up to and including the elbow. So with one go that is done. Now your palm has not been used yet. So you flip your arm over and the inside of your arm, the inside of your forearm, that is, from the inside of your elbow, using the palm, you wipe forwards once. When you get to this part here, the back of the index finger of the right hand and the back of the thumb of the right hand have not been wiped yet. And the index finger of the left hand and the thumb of the left hand have not been used yet. So you use them against each other. So the thumb of the left hand behind the index finger of the right hand, and the index finger of the left hand behind the thumb of the right hand across there. So let me show you this again. Down from here all the way down there, flip it over, and then you wipe it across like that. And the same with the left hand. Use the 3 end fingers of your right hand behind the 3 end fingers of your left hand and start wiping downwards towards the elbow. Up to the elbow, you flip your arm over and use the palm and you go right to the end of the left hand, and it's all done there. So that is your tayammum done. That's all there is to it. Let me show you this once again. We're sitting in front of us, we have some dust, we have a stone, we have a brick, because they all have dust on them, or we have a whole beach of sand. We face the qibla, make the intention Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, put our hands into the sand or dust or on top of a brick or a stone or whatever. Move your hands forward once, move them backward once, shake them against each other, top of the face, wipe down once, that's it. And then we do the same again, hands in the sand, move them forwards once, backwards once, lift them up, shake them against each other, left hand behind the right and right behind the left, so like this. And that's it. That is tayammum done. That is a substitute for ghusl, and that is a substitute for wudu as well. There's one companion, may Allah be pleased with him, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, I was on a journey and I could not find water and I had to perform ghusl, the fard form of ghusl. And so what I did is I started rolling about in the sand on the earth. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, your normal tayammum that you perform for wudu, that is enough for ghusl as well. So if you need to do ghusl, there's no water about, or water is harmful for you, or any of those reasons that we have mentioned today, then in that case just perform tayammum and that's enough. What nullifies tayammum? Right, everything that nullifies wudu or ghusl, that nullifies tayammum as well. So in other words, you need to do tayammum again, plus the reason for why you perform tayammum. If that reason is not there anymore, then automatically that tayammum ends. It's end now, it's invalid. So, for example, you performed tayammum because there was no water for you to perform wudu. So there was no water about. So yeah, I performed tayammum. But now I'm walking along and suddenly I find water. There's lots of water, lots of bottles of water, taps, whatever. So automatically, by the presence of that water and my means to be able to use it, my tayammum ends. Likewise, if I used um, dust, or I performed tayammum in that dust because water was harmful for me, and now I've become well enough that I do not need to do tayammum, that I can just use water for wudu. So in that case, if I am in tayammum at that time, at that point, my tayammum will just end. So I have to perform wudu straight away in order to touch the Quran, in order to perform ritual prayer, or in order to do tawaf of the Kaaba. So today we went through tayammum, and we understand that tayammum is on a substitute to wudu and to ghusl as well. Nobody's asked questions, and there are a few questions that some people asked me before. He said that I was on a train and I could not find any water. What do I do? Do I perform tayammum, or do I do wudu? How do I do wudu when there is no water? Well, first and foremost, you need to look for water. If you can find water anywhere there, then and you have means to perform wudu, then that's fine. If not, there, look for a trolley. Find a trolley that sells water, or a vending machine or anything like that where you can get water, or wait for the next station and get water from there and perform wudu. So always try and delay as much as possible before you perform the tayammum, because you never know, you might find water at the end, at some point just before the end of time. Another person said, I had a blister on my finger and I cannot perform wudu. Can I do tayammum? Well, in that case, what you do is you cover up that finger and you perform wudu. You can wipe over that part of your finger where the blister is if you have a plaster over it, but you have to perform tayammum, because just a blister is not a due cause for you to perform tayammum. It does not allow that. Another person said that I had a certain rash on my body, and if I use water, it's going to be harmful for me. Warm water is going to be harmful for me. Sorry, warm water, but cold water is fine. Can I do tayammum? Well, no, because if cold water is fine and cold water is available, then you use cold water. You just mentioned that that's okay for me. It does not harm me. Only warm water harms me. So if cold water is fine for you, then use cold water. However, if it was the other way around, if cold water was harmful for you, and only warm water was good enough for you, and cold water was harmful for you, and the water was so cold that it would have been harmful for you, and you had no means of warming it up, then in that case you can perform tayammum. Another one was that I broke my foot and I could not wash it. But can I do tayammum? Well, no, you cannot do tayammum in that case. You wash as much as you possibly can, and you just wipe over the cast if you are wearing a cast or a bandage. Another person, he said that I had hurt my hand and I could not perform wudu. Can I do tayammum? Well, in that case, it depends on your circumstances. You will know this better. Can you actually move your hand about so that you can actually wash your face, wash your arm, wash your feet, and just wipe over the broken arm? Or is it so difficult for you that you cannot even use the other arm either because it causes pain to the broken arm? You will know this state better. If it is so bad that it's affecting you in your wudu totality, then in that case you can perform tayammum. There was in this particular case when someone says that they were involved in an accident. May Allah preserve him and give him shifa. That he had pains all over his body, that he found it very, very difficult to get to the bathroom, and so difficult to perform wudu. And he said, I was just like almost crying. There was so much pain. What can I do? Well, I said, in that case, just perform tayammum. Just perform tayammum in that case, because it's making it difficult for you to perform wudu. But you have a valid reason there to perform tayammum. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand the Quran and its teachings and the teaching of the Sunnah of the beloved Messenger Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if there is any other question, do continue to ask, because it helps me, helps yourselves, and it helps other attendees as well. And so we shall end there, and we shall move on to the next topic tomorrow, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وعليكم السلام. Mahdi Akiani there. Let me just type that in for you. We'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.